This is a simple class. A class in Kotlin is like a blueprint for creating objects. For example, we have a person class that defines two properties, name and age, and a method called introduce. The name and age properties are like attributes that store data about a person, while the introduce method is an action the person can perform, which in this case prints out a message introducing the person. When we create a person object, we can set the name and age properties and then call the introduce method to see the person's introduction. In simple terms, it's like having a template to create multiple people, each with their own name and age, who can say a simple introduction about themselves. Next, we have the class with a constructor. A constructor allows us to initialize the properties of a class when we create an object from that class. For example, the animal class has a constructor that takes species and age as parameters. When we create an animal object, we provide values for these parameters, and the object is initialized with these values. This way, every time we create an animal object, we can specify what type of animal it is and how old it is, and then use the describe method to print this information. In simple terms, it's like filling out a form when you get a new pet, specifying what kind of animal it is and how old it is, and then having a way to tell people about your pet. Then there is a class with an initializer block. An initializer block runs some setup code when an object is created. For example, in the car class, we have properties for make and model, and an init block that prints a message when a new car object is initialized. This is useful for performing any necessary setup when the object is created. Additionally, the car class has a drive method that prints a message about driving the car. In simple terms, it's like getting a new car, and right when you get it, it announces what kind of car it is, and then you can say you're driving it. Another important concept is inheritance. In Kotlin, a class can inherit properties and methods from another class. This allows us to create a new class based on an existing class and add or override features. For example, we have a base class called vehicle with a property brand and a method start. The vehicle class is marked with the open keyword to indicate it can be inherited. Then we have a derived class called electric car that inherits from vehicle. The electric car class adds a new property battery life and overrides the start method to include information about the battery life. This way, the electric car class can reuse and extend the functionality of the vehicle class. In simple terms, it's like having a basic car design and then creating a special version of it that includes a battery and starts differently because it's electric. In the main function, we create and use these objects. We create a person object, set its properties, and call its introduce method. We create an animal object using the constructor and call its describe method. We create a car object, which triggers the initializer block and call its drive method. Finally, we create a vehicle object and an electric car object, calling their respective start methods. This demonstrates how we can define classes and use them to create objects with specific properties and methods, making our code more organized and modular. In simple terms, we are showing how to use these templates to create and interact with different objects, each performing its own actions based on the defined properties and methods.